If I had to describe Chris Staples, I would say I am a very determined, hard worker. I like comedy, so I always like to make, jokes in some sense. Goal-driven, and a tunnel vision when it comes to reaching my goals. I'm all about seeing the bigger picture. What got me into pro dunking? Oh, I used to watch Team Flight Brothers and One. Like, I was just addicted to it. I used to be at my job, I used to go on YouTube and type in Team Flight Brothers and One, watch Arab Thayer, Worm, Guy Dupuis, T-Dub. I watch all those guys, man. I was just addicted after watching them. And when I saw Worm and Guy, they were around my height, it just gave me the confidence that I could do the same stuff, even though I was just really getting into dunking. So how I started with the Harlem Globetrotters, I actually sent them an email. I was at work and someone told me that I should try out for the Globetrotters. And I was just like, why not, I sent them an email. I didn't know how it worked. I actually never seen a Globetrotter game before. I just heard of them. And so I sent them an email, said I'm 6'3", 40-inch vertical shooting guard. You guys need somebody on the team, and then that's just pretty much how it worked. They messaged me back. I sent them a couple clips. I got a tryout. That's how it worked. From being with the Globetrotters, I learned a lot, actually. I think being with the Globetrotters gave me such a big advantage living in LA, going to auditions, because one thing they taught me was how to do interviews. We played so many games that I became very comfortable with doing whatever I wanted to do on the court, and not being shy when it came to auditions. And that's one thing that really stuck with me. So when auditions came around, I was ready to go, because with the Globetrotters, we always had to be ready to go when the game started. Even if we weren't as loose or whatever, it's just when the lights came on, it's time to go. And so I think that's a big advantage that I took from the Globetrotters. 2016, I ended up leaving the Globetrotters because I booked a role for a movie. The movie's called Slamma Jamma. I actually didn't want to leave the Globetrotters. It was a team that I really enjoyed being on. I really didn't get tired of traveling and things like that, but it was a decision I had to make. It was a business decision. And I felt like I probably hit that ceiling with the Globetrotters because I traveled to most of the countries that we normally travel to, done a lot of dunks, and I just didn't really see how much more I could progress by just being on the team. And so I made the decision to leave. My highest jump, I remember in City Slam, I was going against Guy Dupuis, Michael Purdy, and Isaac White. And we'd had to jump over a bar. And I think the bar was 68 inches. I'm not sure how high that was, but I remember I posted the video. I'm not sure how many feet that is, but I posted the video on YouTube or Instagram, and it went viral. It had millions of views and people were going crazy. Donovan Mitchell actually reposted it. That's tough because actually I was jumping off 2 feet, so I had to get my knees completely over it. So my favorite dunking moment was in Dunk League, actually. It was the finals, we were in the finals, and I had to it was a elimination round between me and Guy Dupuis. And obviously, I've watched Guy for a long time as a dunking legend, and now this is my moment where I got the one-on-one with him, and I did a 360 under both legs. It was the first of our elimination round, so it was the first dunk, and he really had no response to that. It was like the Eminem where you kind of drop the mic at the end, So that's how I felt with the slam dunk, and it was all right, I knew after that dunk, he had no dunk that could beat that at that moment. And so that says a lot coming from, a person who's seen Guy jump over cars, between the legs, all that type of stuff. To do a dunk at that stage, on the first attempt, that magnitude, that was my favorite moment. One of the most embarrassing dunks I did was actually a Sprite dunk show here in LA. I was going against Worm in a dunk contest. And I did so I got this dunk, I seen Arab there do it. It's like a 360, but you go under the basket and you dunk it this way. And I did that dunk. And I hung on the rim too much, I think too long, and I flung off the rim, literally fell right on my head after the dunk. I made the dunk, but at the same time I was embarrassed. I was low-key dizzy, but I didn't say much. But I think all the judges, they gave me like a 10, but one judge was like, he get a 10 for falling on his head. And I was like, I was embarrassed, man. I thought about that because I knew the video was gonna go up on the internet. But that was like probably my most embarrassing dunk. As far as accomplishments with dunks, I've won some of the bigger contests that I really take pride in. The Ghetto Games, where it was a lot of big dunkers there. This dunk contest takes place in Europe. The most difficult thing was just staying composed. I was really nervous about the car. It's a pretty big car, but I made it. Dunk League was probably one of my biggest ones as far as prize money, $50,000 going against obviously some of the best dunkers in the world. Then the world records that I have. I think that's something that no dunker has really done before to that level where they're actually making it a Guinness World Record. So I have 2 records for the most blindfold dunks in 1 minute, and then the most 360 dunks in 30 seconds.
You had 6.
So those were, I think, some of my bigger accomplishments. Also, this car. This, if you see this car in the back, I actually lost this dunk contest, but I jumped over this car, and it was my second time ever jumping over a car. The first time I ever jumped over a car was the day before in another contest in which I lost both of these contests. But I think with this one, this is like obviously a really big car. This is Aaron Gordon in the car as well. So to do that dunk over the car, one of the dunk legends is in the car, and it was like 5,000 people at Venice that day. So some of the challenges in my dunking career, sometimes it was all about like recognition, but I think it's all about timing, For a while, I've always felt like I can compete with the best. Either just, like I said, it wasn't the right time. And I remember in City Slam where I felt like I was really, really competing against Guy. We were in Chicago, and I just felt like I wasn't getting the credit I deserved with my slam dunks. Dunk King, the season I was on there, I was out in the first round. I missed the 360 between the legs, which is usually like the easiest dunk in my repertoire. I missed that dunk. And I felt like I had the formula to win that whole contest. Like, we were doing dunks in the back. I was hitting everything I wanted to hit.
Let the games begin.
It just didn't happen at that time. And that actually stuck in my head for a couple of years. I couldn't really even make the dunk in front of a crowd for like a year or so after that contest. And this is like following me doing a movie. And so those were like some of the struggles I think I had, but it's all about being patient, and then eventually your time will come. And that's just how I see everything.
More states reaching breaking points as a coronavirus pandemic hits new highs. The U.S. reported more than 100,000 daily cases for the last 10 days.
Man, when COVID came around, that was tough because the majority of my money was from doing slam dunk competitions or appearances. And when COVID happened, there was no traveling. There was no leaving the house. So I'm like, how do I make money throughout this time? I was kind of doing YouTube, but I wasn't really focused and serious on it. I had probably just had a couple videos that had done well, but I knew I had to take that serious because that was another form of income. So guys, like honestly, this is how we actually we do our YouTube content. If you guys don't know how this stuff works, come here, we prepare, I get loose, we content create. It affected everything because there was no slam dunk contest around going on. And I didn't know how long that was gonna be for, and if we haven't seen to this day really isn't in the States. There aren't many dunk contests going on. I don't even remember the last one in the States. So it definitely made me turn into a different direction to see, okay, well, how other ways I can maximize my income, still give great content, and and pretty much level up. And so that's how it affected me. What keeps me grounded and motivated to keep going? The fact that I've been in, where I come from, I literally, I've worked 7, 8 jobs before actually coming to LA, before actually playing with the Globetrotters. I was working at Walmart and a rehab facility before actually signing on with the Globetrotters. So I know how much I've hustled and struggled before getting to this level. So, I never take that for granted. I always think about where I could be. Like I said, I always keep that in the back of my mind, I know where I came from and not forgetting that. And that's what keeps me hungry to keep going, because, it was a struggle to get here, and I want to make sure that I stay at this level, or if not, get better. The dunk or block, that was some great content that day. We really didn't plan that out. People were like, man, how can that really happen? That's like a 1 in a million chance that happens. But it was fun, man. Bynes, that's my guy. So we were out there dunking, and I was dunking on everybody that day. We had Venice, and I was really just everybody getting it today. Then Bionic, he come along, and AJ's kind of hyping it up, man, you two should just go at it right now. And I'm like, pause. But he's like, you two, you should go try block Chris dunk. And I'm like, man, of all people, Bionic, that's gonna be tough, because I know how high he jumps. But we said, all right, let's go, let's make it happen. I had no idea the dunks would go in. I actually thought before I jumped that he was gonna block it. I actually had in my head he probably gonna block this, because I already dunked on 5 or 6 people. So I'm like, he fresh, he ready to go. He did a few dunks, but I've been dunking on people, and he got a chance to see me. So I know he's he gonna time this right, and he's better than obviously the other guys I was dunking on. So. But I dunked it. But the fact that he tipped and it still went in, I'm like, I'm counting that. I'm in a game, we counting that one. That would end up on SportsCenter. It probably did. It was like an overtime and House of Highlights, all that stuff. So that was a fun day. For the next generation of upcoming dunkers, my advice to them would be to, make your own lane, and that's something I've always took pride in doing, is making my own lane. I don't have to be in the NBA. The NBA is not all about slam dunking. Yes, it's a highlight, but that's just one small intangible. And what happens when you can't dunk anymore? Or what happens when your athleticism dies down a little bit? If you look at someone obviously we can say Blake Griffin, even though he's back dunking again, but when he wasn't dunking, people started to write him off and then he had to show other parts of his game. But I would always say, just use your talent to the most, and that's something I do all the time. No matter what I'm doing, I like to involve slam dunking. So whether it's being on a TV show, it's, meeting somebody, I like to always need to do slam dunk. I like to make it involved. I like to involve it in some type of way, shape, or form. And that's the best way to reach your goals as far as using your talents. You have your talents, and just find somebody to pay you to use them. And that's something I would advise to any slam dunker right now. So now, man, I'm, now I have to really get back into the bag, man. I really have to get back into having the mentality. There hasn't been any slam dunk contests going on as of late. So, I had to put myself back into that mental where it's all right, it's time to work on my dunks, getting consistent with everything that I do, doing what got me here, and exceeding that. Getting ready for competition again. And now it's time to get back into the lab, go back to work.